Hello, it's Lisa from Perfectly Spoken, and as you know, I am the B1 level teacher. So for intermediate level students, for those of you with an IELTS score of about 4 to 4.5, the topic of today's lesson is It Made My Day, which is we use when something very special happens or when something happens that makes you really happy and you remember it for a long time. The content, it's a grammar lesson and we are looking at the past perfect simple. So what I had done, what I'd done. Yep. We're going to revise and consolidate meaning and use of the past perfect. We'll compare it with the past simple. We'll focus on written form, how to say it, and we'll practice by getting you to tell your own story. Okay, here we go. I've obviously disappeared already. Here we go. Let's have a look at this first one. I'm going to come in here. Oh, I can. Hi. So the first task, I am going to read a little story to you about something that happened to me. I want you to relax. I want you to listen and answer one question. What was so special about what happened to me last weekend? Something happened to me last weekend. What was special about it? Ready? I'll begin. Last Friday evening, I went out to my favourite restaurant with my husband and children. It's a small Italian restaurant and we all love it because the food is delicious and the atmosphere is warm and friendly. I was feeling relaxed because before going out, I had had a long bath, I had washed my hair and I had put on some makeup. I was wearing jeans and my favourite red silk shirt that I've had for many years. After we had sat down in the restaurant and had looked at the menu, I ordered some pasta and a glass of wine. Continue on the next slide. Here we go. There I am. After a while, I noticed a group of people at the other table, at the next table. They were talking in Italian. One of them looked particularly interesting. She was very good looking with long dark hair and the most amazing brown eyes. I had the feeling I'd seen her before, but I couldn't remember when or where. Just then my best friend arrived with her family and we started chatting about what had happened in our lives that week. I'd forgotten the person at the next table, so I was surprised when she tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hi, you're Lisa, aren't you? You were my English teacher 10 years ago. I recognised your beautiful red shirt. It made my day." Did you enjoy the story? That's good. So what was special about what happened to me? Yeah, somebody saw me, a student from 10 years ago, and she recognised me. She knew it was me because of my red shirt. It was fantastic. It's always great to see your students after a long period of time and to find out what they're doing. Okay, so what are we going to do with that reading? Okay, here we go. Task 2. Read the story again. This time, fill in the gaps with the verbs in brackets. Choose from the past simple and the past perfect simple. So this is a test because I think you might know the past perfect simple. If this is your first time, don't worry. If this is revision, try this exercise first. If this is new to you, go back to task 1 and look at the gaps. Okay, here we go. Last Friday evening, I went out to my favourite restaurant with my husband and children. It's a small Italian restaurant. We all love it because the food is delicious and the atmosphere is warm and friendly. I be feeling relaxed because before going out, I have a long bath. I wash my hair and put on some makeup. Past simple or past perfect? I was wearing jeans and my favourite red silk shirt that I've had for many years. After we sit down in the restaurant and look at the menu, I order some pasta and a glass of wine. Fill in the gaps. Ready? Stop if you're not. If not, here we go. Let's go on to the next slide. After a while, I noticed a group of people at the next table, and they were talking in Italian. One of them looked particularly interesting. She was very good looking, with long dark hair and the most amazing brown eyes. I have the feeling I see her before, but I couldn't remember when or where. Fill in the gaps. Just then, my best friend arrived with her family, and we started chatting about what happened in our lives that week. Fill in the gaps. I forget the person at the next table, so I was surprised when she tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hi, you're Lisa, aren't you? You were my English teacher 10 years ago. I recognised your beautiful red shirt." It made my day. Okay, so what do you have to do? That's right, you have to go back to task 1 to check your answers. Okay, so let's go. Ready? So I was feeling relaxed because before going out, I had a long bath. I had washed my hair and I had put on some makeup. After we had sat down in the restaurant and had looked at the menu, I ordered some pasta and a glass of wine. Just then, my best friend arrived with her family and we started chatting about what had happened in our lives that week. I had forgotten the person at the next table, so I was surprised when she tapped me on the shoulder and said, "You're Lisa, aren't you? You were my English teacher 10 years ago. I recognised you from your beautiful red shirt." Okay, so I was feeling relaxed. I had a long bath. I had washed my hair. I had put on some makeup. After we had sat down and had looked at the menu, I ordered some pasta and a glass of wine. I had the feeling I had seen her before. Just then, my best friend arrived. We started chatting about what had happened in our lives that week. I had forgotten the person at the next table. Okay? How did you get on? Okay, so for those of you, if this is completely new, that was very difficult. We're just going to get to the language focus stage when we look at meaning and use, how to form it and how to say it. Okay, right, let's have a look at the next task. Here we go. So let's look at meaning. We use the past perfect to link one time in the past to another time further in the past. Okay, so if you look at the timeline, in green you have the past simple, which shows something that happened in the past. The orange is the past perfect, which happened even further in the past. It happened before the past simple. Yeah, so you can start with the past simple. I was relaxed. Why? Because before I had had a bath. Yeah, so action 1 is have a bath, had a bath. Action 2 is feel relaxed. Yeah, I was relaxed because I had had a bath. I felt good, past simple, because I had washed my hair earlier. I looked nice because I had put on makeup earlier. So we use the past simple to show that something happened in the past, not the present. It happened in the past, it's finished. And the past perfect is used for the first action that happened and the past simple for the second action. Okay, but it's very common in telling a story to use the past simple and then the past perfect to show two actions happening at different times. Okay, so I had a bath, I felt relaxed. Yeah, I had a bath, I was relaxed. I was relaxed. Why? Because I had had a bath before. Let's look at a bit more. Where have I gone? Here we go. Let's look at the next bit. I'll just get rid of myself for this. Language focus 2, use. The following words and phrases are often used with the past perfect. So we've got by or by the time. By midnight, the party had finished. So that's like saying when it was midnight, the party had finished. Yeah, or before midnight, the party had finished. So the party had finished is the first action, and then the time midnight comes second. Yeah, the party had finished by midnight. By the time I arrived at the party, my friends had already left. So my friends left first, then I arrived. Action 1, had left. Action 2, I arrived. So I didn't see my friends. When, after, before, as soon as are also used with the past perfect. When I arrived at the party, my friends had already left. Yeah. I tidied up as soon as the party had finished. Yeah. So the party finished first, then I tidied up. Note bene, so just be careful. When I arrived at the party, my friends left. This has a different meaning to when I arrived at the party, my friends had already left. So if I say, when I arrived at the party, my friends had already left, the friends leaving first is the first action. I arrived after, so I didn't see them. When I arrived at the party, my friends left. With two past simple verbs, the actions happen more or less at the same time. Okay, that's a very important difference in meaning. When I arrived at the party, my friends left. Action 1, I arrive. Action 2, friends leave. But when I past perfect, when I arrived at the party, my friends had already left. Friends left, action 1. When I arrived, action 2. So I didn't see them. Okay, good. Let's have a look at written form. So the past perfect in positive sentences. By midnight, the party had finished. The party had finished. Subject plus had plus V3, past participle. Yeah, that's V3 is past participle. V2, past simple. V3, past participle. Subject, the party. I had done, or I had finished, you had finished, she, he, it had finished, yeah, we had finished, they had finished. It doesn't change. Subject plus had plus V3. The negative, by midnight the party hadn't finished. The party hadn't finished. Subject plus had plus not, contraction, hadn't, plus V3, finished. Okay, subjects plus had plus not, contraction, hadn't, V3, the party hadn't finished. And the question form, had the party finished by midnight? So you take the had, comes first, then the subject, then the finished, the V3. Doesn't ever change. That is always the way to make the past perfect. What do you need to remember about pronunciation? Well, we use contractions d for had and hadn't for had not. So listen. By midnight, the party had finished. By midnight, the party had finished. The party had finished. The party had finished. The party had finished. I'd finished. You'd finished. So we contract the had. I hadn't finished. Yeah, you hadn't finished. The contractions. And I think sometimes, particularly the d, is difficult for you to hear. Some students confuse it with would. It's not would. It's not a conditional. It's a past perfect. Another thing to remember is how we pronounce the V3. So if you take the word finished, look at its spelling. It ends in ED. But it's not pronounced finished. It's finished. Finished. So it's this one, finished. Think of I had asked for help. Asked. Written, asked. Pronounced, asked. What about played? I had played. There's a D form. Played. Or decided. Yeah, I had decided. So just be careful of your regular V3 forms. The ED is pronounced in 3 different ways. Right, enough of me talking. Let's have some more practice. So here what I've done is I've taken the story that I produced, to talk about the student that recognised me from my red shirt last Friday in the restaurant, for you to produce your own story. Here we go. Complete the sentences to make your own story. Remember to use the past perfect simple when possible. Last Friday evening, I went out to my favourite bar, cafe or restaurant. Describe it. So this is a written exercise, guys. I was feeling good because before going out, I had, say what you had done. Had a bath. Had a good phone call with somebody. I was wearing, describe your clothing. When I got there to the restaurant, cafe or bar, I ordered, what did you order to eat and drink? After a while, I noticed a group of people at the next table. What were they doing? Can you tell me? One of them, looked particularly interesting. Describe him or her. Just then, my friends arrived and we started chatting about... What did you talk about? Work or something else? I'd forgotten the person at the next table, so I was surprised when he or she came to me and said, what did they say? Okay, so for those of you taking the PET, the first certificate, or the IELTS, okay, the narrative tenses, so tenses that you use for telling a story, the past simple, the past continuous, and the past perfect are very, very, very important. Okay, so this is a very good writing exercise, will help you to produce a piece of writing with lots of different verb forms, past simple, past continuous, past perfect. Please do it. It's very useful. Okay, so just put you back on slide 3. There we go. Pause the slide so you can do the task now. Okay, the final task in our past perfect lesson is to underline the verb that is better in the past perfect and correct it. So it's quite a complicated instruction. Let me show you what I mean. In number 1, we've got let me come in, hold on. Hello. Let's look at number 1 together. We've got, by midnight, the club was empty and everyone went home. Is that okay? Or does the was or the went need to be in the past perfect? What do you think? Yes. Okay, so the everyone went home happened before. So listen, by midnight, the club was empty and everyone had gone home. So you take the went and you correct it to had gone. Past perfect. Okay, now do numbers 2 to 8 without me. Here we go. Number 2, it was the first time my children ever were away from home. Number 3, I was disappointed that I didn't get the job because the interview went well. Number 4, I bought all of Taylor Swift's albums before I saw her live in concert, so I knew all the lyrics. Number 5, some of the people who were on my flight didn't fly before. Number 6, by the time I got to the cinema, the film already started. Number 7, when I joined the school, my best friend was there for a year. And number 8, she threatened to split up with her boyfriend many times before she actually did it. stop the slide now if you need more time, because the answers are about to come now. Okay, so number one, we know by midnight the club was empty and everyone had gone home. Number two, it was the first time my children had ever been away from home. Number three, I was disappointed that I didn't get the job because the interview had gone well. I had bought all of Taylor Swift's albums before I saw her live in concert, so I knew all the lyrics. Some of the people who were on my flight hadn't flown before. By the time I got to the cinema, the film had already started. When I joined the school, my best friend had been there for a year. And finally, she had threatened to split up with her boyfriend many times before she actually did it. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. Any problems? Go back to the language focus part. Look at the timeline. Try to work out which action came first and which action came second, and then put the one that came first in the past perfect. Okay. I hope you enjoyed the lesson and you found it useful. It's certainly a tense that we use a lot first in writing before you can use it in speech. Yeah, so you need to really write these down to get accurate with the writing, and then you will feel more confident to use them in speech more successfully. That's it. Thank you for joining me, and I look forward to seeing you again for the next lesson. Bye.